Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to perform throughout your IELTS listening test before the test starts and after the test finishes. What type of practices are there which you have to do, and what are careless mistakes which are done by the candidates very commonly. My name is Asad Yaqub and I'm an international IELTS trainer. I teach IELTS all over the world, online and in campus in Lahore, Pakistan. Well guys, as far as IELTS listening is concerned, whether you're going to appear in computer delivered IELTS listening or paper delivered IELTS listening, this video is going to guide you through the whole test from question number 1 to question number 40, and even before they start playing the audio and after the test is, or once the test is over, I'll guide you throughout this process. Let me tell you, if you appear in paper delivered IELTS, they'll give you headphones for listening. And if it is computer delivered, they have those wired headphones, very comfortable ones. So anyhow, headphones will be provided for listening module. Now, before they start the test, there will be some test audios so that you could check the quality of the headphone. You can adjust the volume and all that stuff. And once they hand over the question booklet to all the candidates, they are upside down on your table. And you are not allowed to touch them unless the exam supervisor announces. And once the exam supervisor says, candidates, you can start your listening test, and you pick up your question booklet, and then in the audio they will start Cambridge IELTS by the University of Cambridge ESOL examination. You're going to listen to a number of different recordings and all that. Don't listen to that. You're going to read questions. You know, your ability to read and understand the questions will help you find the answer. In listening part 1, whenever there is a blank, you need to see what is written before the blank, because mostly the synonym of that word, and then there will be the answer directly. For example, amount of. For amount of, in the audio they may use the word how much. Okay, amount of, how much. Number of, how many. Like this. So in my videos I've explained a lot about such type of things. If there is and then there is a blank, so the two words which are before and, answer will come with them, and it's going to be the third word. So when they start the audio, read the questions, see what is written before the blank, what may be the synonyms of that, and what kind of answer is required over here. For example, answer can be the name of place, name of person. Answer can be a noun, verb, part of speech, and all that. Okay. Now, first they will give you time to read questions 1 to 5. Only focus questions 1 to 5. Don't try to read all 10 questions. They will give you more time for that. Once the audio reaches to question number 5, and then they say, you now have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Read questions 6 to 10. Take that break and spend the time wisely. What do some students do? They just read the questions quickly and then they are waiting for the audio. Come on, play. All right? They do it like this. They waste their time. You need to read the questions. And if you've read all the questions, still some time is left, read the questions again. Focus. What is before the blank? What may be the answer? How the answer can be anticipated? And all that. Once your listening part 1 is over, they will say that is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. If you are appearing in paper delivered IELTS, you have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet, and that is an ideal amount of time to check your answers. Okay, so if you're taking computer delivered IELTS, at the end they will give you 3 minutes. Okay, before they lock the test, that 3-minute time is ample time to read, to recheck your answers and all that. So when they say you now have half a minute to check your answers, immediately jump to the next section and start reading the questions. Read the questions carefully. I mean, when you would have read the questions, then they would say, section 2. You're going to listen to a conversation, blah, 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 and then they say you now have time to look at questions 11 to 15. By that time, you would have read the questions already. Okay, so you can read them again. Don't waste your time. Don't do this thing that you've read the question, now you're looking here and there. Hey, gorgeous, what's your name? Hey, sweet thing, how are you? Don't do that, okay? That sweet thing can become a bitter thing. That gorgeous can become a monster as well, okay? So be careful with that. Now, listening part 2, questions 11 to 16, 11 to 15. Audio will be played, you have to answer. In listening part 1, mostly there is one word and or a number. In listening part 2, mostly there can be multiple choice questions, single or double. There can be a map, there can be matching type of questions. So you need to practice such type of questions, and in actual exam, when they give you matching, read options instead of questions. When they give you a map, read the map instead of questions. That is very, very important. And when they give you multiple choice questions, read the main question statement and read the options, underlining 2 to 3 important words which define the whole option. That is what I call summarizing the options in multiple choice questions. Once your listening goes on part 2, 11 to 16, 11 to 15, then they say you now have half a minute to read questions 16 to 20. Read those questions. By the end of section 2, there will be an announcement. That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. In paper delivered IELTS or computer delivered IELTS, this half minute will be given. Now, immediately, you need to jump to section 3. Sometimes, like question number 20 has been answered and audio is still going on. Even at that point, you can jump to next section. Section 3 is the elephant of IELTS listening. Why? Because we have multiple choice questions. Content is academic. 2 students discussing their project, and that project is based on science, research, technology, innovation, social sciences and all that, okay? So section 3 is what I call the elephant of IELTS listening. You need to prepare well. There will be multiple choice questions in section 3, single or double. Along with that, there are matching type of questions in section 3. So when they say that is the end of part 2, you now have half a minute to read, to check your answers. You can come to part 3. Read the questions. If there are multiple choice questions, underline important words. If they are single, underline important words. If they are double, do that. If there is matching type of questions, don't read the questions, read the options. And in the options, you have to underline important words. So once they say section 3, now when they say section 3, you would have read the questions already. And again, they will give you half minute to read the questions, okay? Now that half minute, you can reread the questions so that you understand them well. Remember one thing, the language of the question booklet and the language of the audio, these 2 languages are entirely different in wording, especially when the answer part comes. Entirely different in wording, but absolutely same in meaning. They use a lot of synonyms, paraphrasing, rewording and all that, okay? So when they say that is the end of part 3, you now have half a minute to check your answer. Now you need to come to part 4, because in part 4, no extra time will be given in the middle of the part to read the questions. They will say, you now have some time to look at questions 31 to 40, and they give you 1 minute to read questions 31 to 40. 1 minute there, half minute from the previous part, you have 1.5 minutes to read 10 questions. Now, how to read the questions? Do not read all, in part 4, we have notes completion with 1 word only. Sometimes sentence completion with 1 word only. So don't read everything. Only read the part where there is the question. And where there is a bullet point without a question, in that statement, underline 1 important word. That important word can be science. So that when they say science, audio is here. That important word can be 1985. So, you know, when in the audio they say 1985, 8 audio is there. This is what I call signposting. Many students lose track of the audio. I mean, they are either ahead of the audio or they are behind the audio. In both cases, you will not be able to answer the questions properly. In listening part 4, if the audio is discussing question number 31, you should be there. If the audio is discussing 32, you should be there. And if you're on 31 and audio has come to 32, you will miss your answers. You will miss one by one all the answers. So, signposting, important words, important phrases, names, dates, numbers, okay? So, it will help you track the audio and you will get to know now where the audio is, and gradually you are going to go ahead on the question booklet with the audio, okay? Where there is the question, in part 4, it's one word only, sometimes one word and or a number. Again, part 1 and part 4, they have this thing similar. Whatever is written before the blank, if you know the synonym of that, you can find the answer. Sometimes they use synonym, otherwise they use, for example, dozens of. Dozens of, for that they use the word 12, they use the word 50. For example, if they use the large number of, for large number they use large number, okay? In one test, I was solving the test and they said there is a little dash and they said $5 charge. There is a little dash, $5 charge, okay? So, little charge for that, okay? Something like that. So, as you solve the test with me, because the way I have simplified IELTS listening and IELTS reading, I mean, many people have done that also, okay? But anyways, the way I have simplified IELTS listening and reading, you can see I have actually explained IELTS listening and reading inside out. So, you need to solve some part 4 with me and you will be crystal clear about that. Now, the audio will start. It will go on and on and on and on and on, okay? So, you will answer the question. Somehow, sometimes in the middle, they take a pause. That pause continues for 5 seconds, 4 seconds, so that the students know now this part is completed and now this part. And during that pause, they don't say anything because they give you time to read questions 31 to 40. So, there is a pause. Allow the pause to happen and then go on and answer all the questions. By the end of part 4, they will say that is the end of part 4. You now have some time to check your answers. Now, if you want to check your answers, you can start from part 1 because in part 1 and part 4, you will have to write your answers. So, you can just check the spelling or any careless mistakes. In part 2 and part 3, you have to use the labels like A, B, C, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H in matching type of questions. So, you can just check that. Now, if it is paper delivered IELTS, they will give you 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet, which is enough time. For part 1 and part 4, now you can check your answers. Remember, on the answer sheet, you can write all capital, first capital, rest small, all small, cat. Answer is cat, C capital, A and T small, C small, A and T small. C capital, A capital, T capital, that's perfectly fine, no problem. So, you can write your answers like that, okay? When they say you have to label A, B, C, try to use capital letters all the time. A, B, C, D, you need to use all capital for that, that will be okay. And I advise you for listening part 1 and part 4, use all capital, that will be all right, okay? So, once they say you have 10 minutes to transfer your answers, now you can check the spelling. Now, you can see the word that you have written, that word fits there or not, but it is not advisable to decide to change your answer at this point. And don't look here and there, like you have written an answer and another person has written a different answer to the same question. Don't try to copy that answer. Stick to your own answers. You never know. I mean, that person has written the wrong answer and all that. By the end of the test, if it is computer delivered, they will give you 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, mainly you are going to check the spelling of listening part 1 and listening part 4. For part 2 and part 3, it's drag and drop and click and all that. There is hardly anything to check there. But in part 1 and part 4, where the answers contain words, so you can check the spelling. After 3 minutes in computer delivered IELTS, your listening test will be locked. And in paper delivered IELTS, after 10 minutes, examiner will say, candidate, stop writing. So that is the time when you need to sit like this. If you try to write anything during that time, if you try to write even a single word, you may be penalized for that. At times, in severe cases, they cancel the test as well, right? Once your listening test is over, stretch, relax, and then they will be reading. So in a separate video, I will tell you how to deal with reading. That's all, guys. Thank you so much. I also teach IELTS online all over the world and in campus in Lahore, Pakistan. We offer IELTS test booking service. We offer PTE online classes. We offer single module preparation. If you want to get any of these services, we have very good classes for English, for speaking, IELTS speaking. So if you want to join that, you can contact us on WhatsApp. Asad Yaqub wholeheartedly wishes you best of luck. Take good care of yourselves. Allah Hafiz.